10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Well, this is our first official time we're going to go to Oaklawn. But before we do, thank you for coming on to another episode of the Rocket Hour. This is also the first time that we're showing names at the bottom. We were able to get that technicality worked out. Before we start, if you haven't listened to Blinkers Off, which I'll admit I haven't yet, I asked Mr. Halterman who Dave Privman is, but we're not going to give that away. You have to listen to Blinkers Off. There has been some animosity, I guess, between the dudes and Jay Privman. So if you want to give us a sneak peek, please do so, because I'm interested.
Listen, we love Jay. We love Jay. You know, he's our favorite, not. So anyway, welcome to the Rocket Hour, everybody. And man, I am so freaking excited. Opening day at Oaklawn Park, where the sun always shines. I am so looking forward to this. I'm hyped up, man. I've had like 3 coffees. I'm ready to go. I feel great about the sequence too.
Yeah, no, it should be a lot of fun. We had kind of been talking about this all week. Even last weekend, we were kind of talking about how excited we were, and then you can kind of hear how excited we were on Wednesday, just leading up to this. So like I said at the beginning, we will not be covering Gulfstream today. We will be talking about the Pegasus tomorrow real quickly. But we do have a lot to get into. I think for everyone's sake, we will skip recapping yesterday because I think we'll both admit it wasn't our best performance of all time, which is okay. It happens to the best of us. But more importantly, we are going to attack Oaklawn with a vengeance today. We were talking before we kind of got on air that this is probably the best sequence that we've covered. Between the two of us or even anyone else that I've had on. And then that's what makes it so great. So let's get right to it. Here, as always, we're going to show the entries. We encourage you to look at your past performances as well. Let's start with a good maiden special weight race. Maiden special weight for 3-year-olds going 1 mile, 2 turns. 8 furlongs. This is interesting to note. They will start and finish at the 16th pole. Real quick before we get into the race, if you're not aware, there are 2 finish lines there. And just depending on the kind of the distance of the race and things like that, they will have 2 finish lines and start and end at different finish lines throughout the day and throughout the meet. There's also no turf racing as well, so do not expect to hear the word turf today at all unless a horse is switching surfaces. I'll start with you in your sequence. I kind of saw this as a wide open maiden special weight race, really loaded by a few main contenders. I don't know if anyone stands out, but there do look to be some horses that really stand above the rest.
Yeah, this is going to be a great way to kick off the sequence, right? I mean, you got a maiden special weight going 1 mile for the 3-year-olds. It's that time of year when you're looking for these 3-year-olds to come out of maiden special weights and then jump on the Kentucky Derby Trail. You're going to see that an awful lot at Oaklawn, and you're also going to see that at Gulfstream and Santa Anita as well. Yeah, loaded field, like you said. There's a lot of different ways you could go. I do agree with that. But in the end, I just couldn't get off the number 7 Sapphish Day for Steve Asmussen. Biggest reason why this horse does have a quote unquote win in the past performances. It came on debut at Keeneland, a wire to wire win by over 5 lengths. Now, unfortunately, horse got DQ'd that day. And then tried 2 really tough races the last 2 times out, right? Ran at the undercard of the Breeders' Cup in the Nyquist Stakes, going 6.5 furlongs, was 3-1 in that race. So it's not like this horse, was a long shot there. He took money and got beat badly, but that was a much, much tougher field. Then last time out, went to Remington Park to run in the Remington Park Springboard Mile. Was 4th, not great, but also not awful. I think the big key for Sapphish Day is getting back on the lead today. Last 2 races couldn't make the lead. And I am skeptical of why is just the reason there were just better horses in there. But now back to the maiden special weight ranks, should get an easy lead. And a big key, and you called it, the mile at Oaklawn, a very short stretch. So remember this all season long. It begins and ends at the 16th pole. So speed going a mile at Oaklawn is very, very important. And so that's why I really like Safa's Day to kind of get out in front and kind of take this field gate to wire. I did a $20 win wager to open it up here on number 7, Safa's Day, 5-2 on the morning line. I think you're kind of going to get not 5-2, but maybe that 8-5, 9-5 range, because there's a lot of other horses that are intriguing here. So I'll kick it to you, but my top choice and my bet here is going to be 20 to win on number 7, Safa's Day.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's who I made my top choice, but I did want to throw a few other horses out there you could see as it scrolls around. I also went with the 9, 10, 11, and I'm not trying to really knock down any doors with these prices necessarily, but I think the 9, he's my honey badger. I'll kind of go in numerical order here. He's my honey badger was pretty strong, I thought, at 5.5 furlongs, but what didn't show a ton of speed, so I kind of think that this stretch out is going to be good for him. We always talk about in horse racing, the biggest improvement is from start 1 to start 2. And that's what you're going to see here with the 9. He's my honey badger. The old saying is kind of, once you see start number 2, I don't need to do anymore. And I've heard that for a long time. My dad taught me that. And it's like after start 2, it's like you kind of know what you're going to get, unless they drop into rank, into the maiden claiming ranks, for example. But I think this is a perfect spot. And Safa's Day, to your point, actually did break his maiden, was DQ to 11. So he did actually cross the wire first, and really should have been running in the Nyquist, having broke his maiden already, or maybe goes to another spot. Number 10, Silver Tap, has the pedigree to go this distance by Tap It. This is going to be a tough spot for him. I'm not necessarily sure if he's a win candidate, but I've seen Steve Asmussen before. He does really, really well at Oaklawn. Well, I think we would agree he does well everywhere, but I don't think it's just Oaklawn. But Joe Talamo, you're going to hear that name a lot. Talamo's really, really good at Oaklawn. I know you know him much better than I do, and if I know him, then a lot of other people do as well. He's always one of the leading riders there. He will probably contend with Ricardo Santana for the top of the jockey standings when the meet's over. That's my guess. And I just thought there was too much to like at 8-1 to leave him off. And again, the pedigree's there, $150,000 purchase. That's definitely a horse I'm taking a shot with. And the other one is Sakil. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The last time he went out going longer, he ran his best race, and he only lost by a neck. If you look at his odds, 28-1, almost 29-1, 29-1, and almost 35-1, you will not see those odds here. So I think this could be a nice spot for him. I really do like Safa's Day. I don't know, and I'm going to throw this to you. I don't know if Safa's Day really wants to go a mile. I know they tried him in the Springboard Mile, but his race where he utterly dominated was at 6.5 furlongs. Maybe the maturity that is there in his 4th start, but I think there were other directions to go. Are you kind of concerned about the distance, or is that not a thing for you at all?
I'm not concerned about the distance because it's at Oaklawn. Getting a mile is easier at Oaklawn than at any other track out there because of that short stretch. So you'll see horses that if you're a little bit questionable about the distance, if you think the horse may be like 6 or 7 furlongs, don't be afraid to play him at Oaklawn going a mile. I'm telling you, that short stretch, and Oaklawn doesn't have the longest of stretches anyway in a normal configuration. When they back it up for this 1 mile race, it really makes a big difference. The other thing, I looked at the pedigree because you're right. It is questionable, and he did romp when going 6.5. But look at the pedigree, Carpe Diem. I don't think there's any problems getting a mile there. And there's a distance pedigree on the dam side as well. So I wasn't real worried about the distance. I was kind of worried about a couple of the horses that you mentioned for sure, especially the 9. Next time out or second time out, like you said, for Brad Cox, that's always nerve wracking. And so I think that's definitely a good use. Dennis kind of mentioned the 3 Windcracker, first time gelding. And I think that is an important thing. Gets Cabrera aboard, another a very good jockey here at Oaklawn. My problem with Windcracker, we've had a lot of tries. And we haven't seen a win yet. So a little worried about that. But all in all, Ricky, I pretty much agree with the other horses you went with here. I can't really make a lot of argument. I think if Safa's Day kind of doesn't get to the lead here, then it really becomes a wide open scramble.
Yeah, and to Dennis's point, I'm not going to read the whole comment, but one of the things I've always said in horse racing, and it's interesting, Dennis isn't wrong with what he's saying. He says, real quick, I'll sum it up. He doesn't think the horse needed blinkers, just needed the gelding, and he's better going 2 turns. I don't disagree with all that, but he's had his chances going longer, 8 furlongs or longer, 3 times. He's only finished in the money in those spots once. Look, after all these chances, 0 for 6, if he's going to win because he's gelded now, then okay, that's fine. I'm not going 5 deep here for the mere fact that I think Safa's Day could easily win. And if Safa's Day wins, I'm already going to chalk out leg 1. I don't need to chalk out with 5. It's already tough enough. I'm going 4. And with Silver Tap, I can make the argument that I only needed to go 3 deep if I remove Silver Tap. We're going to get to a race later, the Smarty Jones, that I think kind of stands out. But I think Safa's Day, to your point, is probably the horse to beat. So I don't know how deep I want to go, because if Safa's Day probably runs his best race, he's going to win. So we're in agreement there. Let's move on to the next race. Allowance optional claiming 80,000 for 4-year-olds and upward, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Before I start, folks, if you have a chance to look at your PPs, this is almost a stakes race, non-graded stakes race. Real quick before I get into who I like, the 1 has stakes races. The 3, Little Menace, who we've seen on multitude occasions last year, facing Nashville, Yelpon, our collector. Engage has stakes races. And some of the top choices, even Home Base ran in the ACAC last year. This race was also really, really tough, because I think when you get to this type of quality, and Aaron, tell me if I'm wrong, all these horses can win on their best day. I think this is definitely one of those consistency spots. I did like Engage on top. I think facing Firenze Fire and Sleepy Eyes Todd, those horses are probably a little bit better than these. So I don't think it's – I want to say this very, very carefully. I don't think he should be an overwhelming favorite, but I think on the class drop, he deserves to win, and he should be the favorite, maybe not the overwhelming favorite. I guess my concern is he's only run twice since January 1st, 2020. If he can run to any of those races he ran in 2019, whether it's the Phoenix or even the Breeders' Cup Sprint, where he wasn't bad, losing to Matoli, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. He's going to win this race, but that's what I kind of want to ask you. Are you willing to take him at a short price, not having won since late 2019?
I think he's going to run a big race, and I think he is the most likely winner. I could see him getting beat, maybe getting second here, even though having picked on top. The lack of racing and then the lack of winning is 2 big problems. When I look at this, though, I look at the race last time out, the Lafayette, right? That was a loaded race. You mentioned Sleepy Eyes Todd. How about True Timber? That horse came back to run very well next time out. That was a very good race. Only got beaten by 2 1/4 lengths. It was a huge improvement from that first race off the layoff. Even though they finished 5th, he finished 5th both times. Much better effort in that race last time out at Keeneland and Lafayette. So now it comes to an allowance. Like you said, it's a class drop, but at the same time, it is still a very tough allowance. But I think this horse is going to run pretty well. So I used him on top. I kind of like the 6 Rubus as well, and so I boxed these 2 and a $5 exacta. Reason being, I and hopefully Speed does well today at Oaklawn, because I'm using Speed a lot. I kind of think Rubus is going to get out in front. And man, at Oaklawn last year and really the last couple of years, David Cohen, this guy has had a great couple of meets last year. Fantastic. He knows that track. This trainer doesn't run at Oaklawn much, but bringing this horse here to win, I think you look at the past performances, 3 starts back at this level at Churchill Downs, pretty much a gate to wire 2-length win. The next time out, going 7 furlongs, a little bit of a stretch out, still got 3rd at this level. And then last time come out on a very tough allowance at Churchill, 3rd again. But the horse really didn't get the trip that he wanted. So if he gets that kind of forwardly placed trip today, which I'm banking on that he will, I think he could maybe take the field gate to wire. Maybe Engage can't catch him down the lane. So a 4-6 exacta box is how I saw it. I'm interested a little bit in the number 7 Mucho for the new trainer today. I think that is kind of interesting that the barn change claimed last time out for 80,000 and now shows up here in this allowance. That this horse, maybe Ortiz can get a little more out of him. And also the 5 Tough Love, 2 back at Churchill, 1 at this level. I think this horse has got a little bit of intrigue as well. But overall, I did think I'm going to go heavy on that 4-6 exacta box.
So I don't disagree at all. Before I get into the horses that I like, if you had to pick a horse who you think would be on the front end, who would it be? Because I'm looking at this spot and I don't know how many horses are going to be dying. I think the 8 would probably nuclear option. But I think a lot of the other competitors have the ability to sit off. I think 4 Engage could sit off. I think the 6 can sit off. Mucho will definitely be last, most likely. So I think I'll ask you first. Who do you think is going to be on the lead?
Well, I think it's between the 5, the 6, and the 8, and maybe the 9. So I know the riders pretty well at Oaklawn. I do not think Ramon Vasquez will go to the lead with the 8. So I don't think it's going to be the 8. I think Cohen is pretty aggressive, and I think the 6 is the one that's going to be on the lead. Mojica, you never really know. The one that's a little bit questionable is Clean Cut Pete sends in at the number 9 home base with Flo aboard. Flo can be an aggressive rider, so it could be the 9. I think it's between the 6 and the 9 as far as who's out in front. But I think the 6 is the one that can do it naturally. And so that's why I kind of thought that might be a pretty solid play for me. So you're right. There's not for a 6 furlong sprint allowance condition, you usually see a bit more speed signed on than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of my point. We talked about the 4. I think the 6 is a very logical choice. The 2 I wanted to throw in there, and that was Mojo Man. He was running really, really well at Arlington, which is definitely a step below Oaklawn or a step below Churchill Downs for sure. But last time on a sloppy track, he just didn't really seem to run his best race. Coming into that start, he was 0 for 2 on a sloppy track. No in the money finishes, so at least he was able to get off the schneid in terms of finishing the top 3. This is the horse that I think could be sitting that trip. I think, to your point, Engage would probably be pretty far back and further back than Onos Man. The Mojo Man, not Onos Man. Mojo Man. I think the 2 might just get the jump on the 4, and that's where I kind of went with my 3rd choice. I do like Martin Garcia. I think he's one of the more underrated riders. The last time Martin was on, he did win back in February, right before coronavirus kind of shut us down here in this country at Oaklawn on February 15th at a price. Real quick, the only problem with the 7 that I didn't like, I do like the 5 a lot. That was one that I wanted to include. I just couldn't. The 7 Mucho, the first quarter was 21-2 or 21-4-4, and I just thought he could have done a better job closing. The argument could be made at 13.5-1. He just wasn't better than that group, which is fine. I just thought that he would do a little bit better of a job closing, and with a lack, I don't want to say lack of early speed, but no Blazers, no Serengeti Empress, no Gamine, no nothing like that. I just don't know if he's going to be too far back. Was that a concern of yours in what might be a moderate 6 furlong sprint?
Yep, absolutely. You hit it right on the head. I don't want anybody here that's going to be too far back. So I couldn't have said it better myself. And that was kind of, the deal. It's like, okay, maybe he runs up and hits the board type of thing. And if you're a little bit of a price and maybe you couldn't catch those front runners, but you get up and get third, I think he makes sense there. But yeah, I don't want anybody that doesn't have a lot of early speed. And here's a good question. I said naturally get on the lead. Naturally meaning not being pushed, or naturally meaning no extra help? Yes, both. However you want to look at it there, probably makes sense either way. Yeah, you said it to begin this. This is a classic Oaklawn Park allowance. You're going to see 3 or 4 horses in a stakes next out. This is a prep for the Oaklawn Sprint Series basically later on. So yeah, look for these horses coming back in stakes, and this probably will not be the last time we're talking about a few of these.
Yeah, before we end, outside of the 1 KJ's Nobility, and I'm going through here the 8 Nuclear Option, which is not a stakes horse, I think we could agree, and the 9 Home Base, maybe. If you look at the top choices or horses that are actually win candidates, the 2 November 22nd, the 3 November 7th, the 4 November 7th, the Perryville and the Lafayette were on the same day. Tough Love, Rubus. The point here is, to Aaron's point, to tack on, they kind of gave these horses a couple months off in anticipation to build them back up. So I think, you use horses that usually kind of run December or early January. They just want to kind of continue momentum. These horses have all gotten, let's say, 60 days off, 45 days off, with something in that range to get them going again for 2021. Because we talked about this with a lot of other horses in the past, they kind of need that time to just recover. If they have a long campaign, you need Thanksgiving through the New Year, or Thanksgiving through whatever, to kind of just give them a rest. So to Aaron's point, I think we will see a lot of these horses in better races or more competitive races. Either way, moving on.
And just real quick, look at KJ's Nobility real quick, right? He ran in a similar race to this to start off his season last year, but make a note, this is an Arkansas bred. So then KJ's Nobility came back to win an allowance and then win a stakes, and then stretched out to a 1/16 and almost won another stakes. So even a horse like KJ's Nobility fits exactly kind of what you're saying. They've given him time off. They're going to get a race here, and he fits the mold just like the other horses here. Of this is the starting point to build them up for the next race. When it comes to likely next out winners in this field, KJ's Nobility might be the most likely of all of them, because he'll be against Arkansas breds next time out.
Right, exactly. To your point, and I'll make the case. I think it's that's a no double breeder, I think it's called. He won that by 3 lengths, and then had to face Lexingtonian ZZ Rocket. Those 2 allowance races are probably better than the no. So because not facing state bred. So enough with that race, because we have to move on to the feature of the day. And I would say one of the more underrated races of the weekend that's not at Gulfstream, and we'll get into, it's the Smarty Jones Stakes for 3-year-olds going a mile, 8 furlongs. Again, they will start and finish at the 16th pole. So you could stop watching when they kind of hit the top of the stretch, because they're going to end real quick on you. I'll let you start. I think this is kind of a showdown on paper between the 3 Cowan and the 7 Caddo River. Kind of walk me through how you kind of saw this race playing out.
Yeah, first of all, I really think it's a bad morning line. I mean, I think Caddo River is going to be a heavy favorite here. There's no way Cowan is going to be, your favorite. So first and foremost, pretty bad morning line. Don't look at this and think you're going to get 5-2 on Caddo River. It's not going to happen. Look, we talked about it a lot in race 6 when we kicked off this sequence about speed at a mile at Oaklawn being good. And Caddo River certainly has more speed, in my opinion, than anybody else in this field. So I think it's just as easy as Caddo River taking them gate to wire here. And you also have to look at this horse's past performance, right? So debuted September 5th, going 7 furlongs at Saratoga, ran very well, got second, being beaten 2 3/4. Next out, another really tough 7 furlong maiden special weight at Belmont, again second, almost won, got beat by 3/4 of a length. And then last time out, stretches out to a mile, same distance as today at Churchill. It's another maiden special weight that probably had some decent horses in it. Almost a 10-length victory, gate to wire, just poured it on in the stretch. I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited for this horse today, and I'm pretty excited for the future. I think Caddo River is going to become a Kentucky Derby contender out of this race. I don't love the rest of the horses in this field. I thought Cowan was very average in the Remington Park Springboard Mile last time out. I had some interest in number 4, Big Thorn, making his debut for Steve Asmussen. But in the end, I just kind of thought Caddo River was a little faster. The only horse that maybe could pull an upset, it's kind of strange that he's here, is the 6 Moonlight Strike for Seffi Joseph. But I just didn't think he was fast enough to challenge the favorite, or who's going to be the favorite. So $20 to win for me on number 7, Caddo River.
Yeah, real quick before I talk about Cowan, Dennis says, I took the 7 with all, hoping the 3 is a sprinter, hoping the 3 might be a turf horse, or hoping that the 3 Cowan just stinks. Well, I would disagree and say I don't think Cowan stinks. No. If you look at the 3 turf races that he ran, all of those turf horses are really, really, really good, led by Golden Pal in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. It's no shame. He might be a better turf horse for sure. But nonetheless, I don't think he stinks no matter what the surface is. I think that would be a little bit of a discredit there. It's interesting, though, that you didn't think the 3 was all that strong, because if anyone had listened to the draft, Aaron was all over Senor Buscador. I hope I said that right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who went on to win by multiple lengths. Now, maybe that's the case, that Senor Buscador shouldn't have won by 6 lengths. If Cowan was any decent, maybe he would have lost by a few. This is interesting because I don't like horses that run these types of races that are much better. I think the Springboard Mile is better than this. I think the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint was better. The Indian Summer with Bodenheimer is probably better, and the same thing with the Juvenile Turf Sprint with Outador. This is interesting, though, because we talked about this yesterday or 2 days ago. There was the 10 horse at Gulfstream that you said was a bad bet. He just kind of seems to finish second. I agree, though, the morning lines aren't strong. I would have liked to see this the other way around. And I think Caddo River, I'm guessing, will be about 6-5. That's my guess, maybe even money. And Cowan will probably still be around 9-5. I just think Caddo River will take a lot of money. And I'm going to sum it up by saying I think you can get out of this race with the 3 and 7. If you're playing the multis, playing an exacta, you're not going to get much unless you think Caddo River is much better. You can just go 7-3. Aaron didn't do that, but I think the prices are going to be short. So unless you're going to hammer home 7-3, if you do 3-7, that you're not going to do anything with that. They're going to be really short either way.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. I will be absolutely shocked if Cowan wins. I will not be shocked if he runs well, gets second or third, but if he wins, I'll be shocked. And you're right. I am super high on Senor Buscador. Like, I love that horse. But you got to remember, in the Springboard Mile, Senor Buscador had 1 race under his belt. It was a 5.5 furlong maiden special weight at Remington, which is not, historically, day in, day out, those are not real strong races. And so he comes over here, first time in a stakes, first time going 2 turns, first time facing winners, and he wins by 5 3/4, pretty much under wraps. Yeah, it definitely shows that Senor Buscador has talent, but another factor of that is, how can a horse like Cowan, who has so much class, not get anywhere close to winning? It just kind of shows. It showed me he's not great, But I look at this field and I say, well, minus Caddo River, it's pretty much maybe worse than the Springboard Mile was. Like, there's not a lot of good horses in here past who is going to end up being the favorite. So Cowan is logical, as your second choice. There's no doubt. I still think, I thought it was really interesting that Cowan entered the Springboard Mile to begin with. And I think it's even more interesting that here he is back again. You made a really good point. You look at his 3 races on the turf. Damn, he ran well, and he was facing really good horses. So to me, to get him back in the winner's circle, 5.5, 6, 5 furlongs on the turf. That's where this horse is going to excel. I don't think it's going to be here. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking him right into the winner's circle, but Dennis, if you're nervous about the 3, I wouldn't be. I just don't think he's capable of winning here.
Yeah, no, and it was more of a defensive use. I think he has a better chance than Aaron does, but I think we both agree Caddo River is probably the main contender and should be the favorite at post time. Let's attack the final race here. Starter allowance for 4-year-olds and upward. Same sort of deal. 1 mile, 8 furlongs, starting and finishing at the 16th pole. I didn't really have a true horse that I loved. I'm gonna use the 3, 5, 6, and 12. I'm not gonna go into detail about all of them. I just kind of looked at the 5 River Echo and said, this horse just kind of wants to go longer. It's ironic. 3 starts back was his worst start, only going 6 furlongs. I have no idea why that horse was going 6 furlongs. But nonetheless, this is one of the cooler horses. He's dominant in pretty much in every race that he runs. This is the horse that if you look at his odds, granted they were at Indiana Grand, for the most part, how is this horse not the favorite? He wins every time he runs except for the last start, 2 starts back, which is definitely against much tougher. And the 1-3 back was at 6 furlongs. At this distance, this horse has finished in the money 13 out of 18 times with 7 wins. And at Oaklawn, he's 1 for 2. The one he didn't win, he finished second. The other cool thing about this horse, and I always like this, it's always ironic, look at this horse's pedigree. He was bred in Great Britain, so the GB, and look at the bloodlines. France, GB, Ireland, bred in Great Britain, and he was running on the dirt. I find that to be awesome. Because with this much pedigree, without looking at the name, you'd almost say, this is a Chad Brown horse that he bought at Tattersall. Yeah. Or a Klarovich horse, I should say, or Sleth Klarman, whatever the case might be. This horse has a ton of European pedigree, which you'd think would be going long on the turf. He is going long, but he's on the dirt. Did you kind of see the 5 River Echo as a standout?
Yeah, so my opinions in the 6th, 7th, and 8th race are pretty strong. I'm pretty confident. This race, I played $5 to win on River Echo, and you may be sitting there thinking, well, what is even the point? Well, there's really not there's not a lot of a point of it. It's just a bet to make while you watch the most entertaining race on the entire card. This race is so good, and why I only invested $5 out of my 55 total today is I'm just looking forward to watch it. I think there's a million of them that can win here. I like so many horses in this race, but I did put River Echo on top. And the one thing that you didn't touch on, you touched on a lot of good points. That's not a knock on what you did there. But the one thing you didn't touch on, Carl Broberg, first time, the Magic Man, Broberg. Look out, man! This guy, what a horseman, right? I'm sure he's made tons of little horseman adjustments. It's not anything else. To improve this horse even more. So Broberg gets his hands on a horse that's already really good. And now he's got him. So I think this could be a really, really good performance from River Echo today. I think he is definitely the one to beat. But boy, can you not go a lot of different ways. I'll kind of go through a couple I liked. I also liked the number 12, Don't Tell Nobody, Villafranco, with this horse, another guy at Oaklawn that does very well. Last time out, this Oklahoma bred was winning stakes at Remington Park. Look at this horse's form coming in last 4 races: a win, a second, and a win. So hard to argue that one. I think he's a pretty good one to use. I kind of liked. Let me see, get my thing back up here. One thing I want to mention, the 14 has drawn into the race, Frost or Frippery. So I don't know if you want to change your ticket or not there to include that horse.
Well, that is good to know.
So the 2, the 7, and the 9 have scratched out. So the 13 and 14 have scratched in. We just got scratches out like almost as we started this segment. So again, 2, 7, and 9 are out. So I'll talk for a minute on the 14 and one other horse while you adjust there. The 14, Frost or Frippery, the race kind of goes through him a little bit. The reason why I kind of played against him a little bit as far as my wager with the win, he's a little inconsistent, just a bit. And if you watch that race last time out at Gulfstream Park, he ran on Claiming Crown Day and won by a nose. It was a hell of an effort, really. Just love this horse. But he might bounce a little bit out of that race. This is his his fourth race in a row where he's been at a different racetrack. He draws all the way to the 14 hole. He might get hung wide into that first turn. I think he's one for your purposes, as you probably are adjusting, that you got to use. But I think on the win end, I just kind of took a small shot against him with River Echo. But my goodness, I mean, you have to respect this horse. He's ultra, ultra consistent. This horse has ran 66 times and has won 21 of them. I mean, that is really incredible. This is kind of why horse racing is awesome, a horse like this. One more I'll talk about I'll kick it to you for your adjusted ticket there. The 6, Charlie's Angel, kind of up and down horse. There's no doubt about it. This horse, though, usually runs pretty damn well at Oaklawn, usually runs pretty well in these starter races. And you look at that last time he was at Oaklawn, last year in February, almost beat Frost or Frippery in a race kind of like this. So I think he adds a little bit of intrigue to this thing. I think a flat mile for Charlie's Angel is pretty good as well, and picks up Joe Talamo to ride. I thought that was a pretty good sign. Talamo doesn't ride for Randy Morse much, as in hasn't in the last year. So I thought that was interesting. So in order, I went 5, 12, 14, and 6. So you can take it away now.
Yes, it's interesting. I appreciate you doing that while I was kind of trying to make a quick adjustment. I am very, very worried about the 14 here. For 2 reasons. The outside post is obviously concerned, but it's not really going to be post 14. It will be post 11. So that's definitely not as bad. I do wonder, though, what he's going to do. What Florent Giroux is going to do here, for the mere fact that he's going to have a speed horse right to his inside in the 13 Stevens Answer. I agree. You said Stevens Answer is in, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've seen this on occasion a lot, and you might have also. There are 2 ways Frost or Frippery can go. Frost or Frippery can follow Stevens Answer,
mm-hmm.
And try to go to the lead, and they could dive down on everyone. Or does Frost or Frippery see that opening and kind of just grind his way to the mid pack? Or if you're a deep closer, you're going to see that space and go right to the rail and let the other horses figure it out. I think the race will be won, within the first furlong for Frost or Frippery, because we are going to see early on what he's going to do. I don't know this for a fact, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they kind of kept him out of this spot because of the post position. I've heard before, when you have AEs, or it's more so with MTOs, they draw you in a normal spot. You could be the 3, the 5, the 7, the 2, and if it comes off, you're in that spot. Because of the post position, and there are 14 horses in this spot, I wouldn't have been surprised if they said, look, we don't like this post position. Let's put him in another spot, because when you're an AE, you're going to get now preferential treatment for the next spot that you want to put him in a similar situation. Obviously, if you go into a stakes race, which he's not, things are different. But he would have had preferential treatment into this very similar spot, which I'm sure they'll be running like next week or something like that. So I'm really kind of shocked that they kept him in. Granted, it will be from the 11 post. As my updated ticket now includes the 14, Frost or Frippery. I'm not using Stevens Answer. The reason being, I really didn't like that last race out. Now, granted, it was against Hunka Burning Love, who's just much, much better. I just don't know if he's better than Frost or Frippery, and I don't need that horse from the 13 post unless you're going to be that much better. So it's now going to read, it'll scroll at the bottom. I took the 3 out. I'm going to use the 5 River Echo, the 6 Charlie's Archangel, who we'll talk about real quick, the 12 and the 14. The 6 with Charlie's Archangel, I think, just comes out of claiming races that are really, really strong at Churchill Downs. And I'll make the argument they're probably better than this race. He doesn't have any Oaklawn success, so that's what makes me concerned. But I think he'll be forwardly placed and might sit that perfect trip. Excuse me. And we'll be drawing the 6 post, which is now the 5. These are the scratches. I'm not going to read them out. I'm not going to show them, but if you guys are watching, you can kind of see them here. You can also get them at Equibase, where you just don't have time to kind of go through it all. I do apologize for not showing the entries here. I assume everyone can get them on their own, but here they are as well. I'm not going to refresh it because that will kind of set us back, but you can see the 13 Stevens Answer and Froster Frippery will draw in. The 9 Revenio's out. The 7 is out, and the 2 is out as well. So a lot of scratches and changes. So check those out before you play your tickets. Before we move on to Gulfstream, I'll throw out my final ticket here. I'm going to go with the 7, 9, 10, 11, with the 2, 4, 6, with the 3, 7, with the 5, 6, 12, 14 for $48, and that will begin in race 6. I don't know the exact post time. We can scroll that up here. It's a little bit later. They have a little bit later of a post time than Gulfstream or whatever. So we're going to be around 3 o'clock, 3:05. So tune in there. Aaron, what are your picks for the day?
Yeah, so man, so excited to be back at Oaklawn. I'm just gonna veg out on the couch all day and watch this. This is one of my favorite days of the year, no doubt about it. And I kicked it off in race 6 with $20 to win on the 7 Safa's Day. Just hoping this horse gets the trip that he got on debut when he won before he got disqualified. Get that wire-to-wire victory at a mile. I think there's a good shot of it. In the 7th race, I did a 4-6 exacta box for $5. I just think Engage is the class of the field, and I think the 6 Rubus has a little bit of a pace advantage. He's the one that I think is going to the front. In a 6 furlong race, it doesn't have a lot of early speed. In the 8th race, it's all about number 7, Caddo River for me. $20 to win on this horse. Man, I really think this is a horse with a big, big future. Really excited to see what he can do here. He should win this one fairly easily. The 9th race, I do not have a strong opinion as far as a bet, so I just went $5 to win on number 5, River Echo, for $55 total. You might look at that and say, well, that's kind of a waste. Well, listen, I'm more looking forward to watching the 9th race today at Oaklawn than betting it. I think it's the most entertaining race on the card. There are so many horses that you just love and respect in that race. So I said, hey, I'm not gonna, put any unneeded pressure on myself. A little $5 wager, and let's just have some fun and watch that one.
Yeah, and that's the great thing. And that's kind of your motto, or your model, I should say, not motto. That if the race is really tough, you just take one decent price and you give it a shot. You're really strong on Caddo River earlier, so that's a big play. Without further ado, we do have 2 races tomorrow that are arguably going to be some of the best races we see in 2021. And we're going to do that right here. I'll show the entries. We're talking about Gulfstream Park, the 2 Pegasus races tomorrow. I think Magic said it, some of the best races that Gulfstream's going to have all year. There were a lot of ways we can go with this race, and I'll let you kind of start because you wrote the guide. This is the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational Stakes, 4-year-olds and upward, going 1 3/16 miles. So that is 9.5 furlongs. I'll start here with next shares and go through it, and I'll get to the back half. Kind of tell me what you thought of this race and how competitive this race is going to be.
Yeah, I think it's the best betting race on the card because you just can go so many different ways. There's not really a world beater in the field, but there's a ton of horses that are just really, really good. I kind of set on blinkers off last night. You can go 100 different ways, but I wouldn't go the way of the favorite. Number 5, Colonel Liam, is the favorite at 7-2. And while I do think that is a very nice horse, and I am a Colonel Liam fan, this is a major jump up from what he's been facing. He has not been up against horses of this caliber yet. I kind of described it as, hey, later on in the year, maybe in the summer at Saratoga, maybe right before Saratoga at Belmont, Colonel Liam can jump up. He's going to win a big race at some point. I don't think it's going to be Saturday. I took number 8, Another Twist of Fate, on top. For Clean Cut Pete, he's really kind of figured this horse out. Third time for Another Twist of Fate in his barn. Last time out, I thought was Another Twist of Fate's best career race. And I really love the fact that this horse has a ton of early speed in a race that looks a little bit devoid of early speed. And I think when Clean Cut Pete horses get on the lead, they're really tough to catch. I think Another Twist of Fate's going to run huge. And then kind of my upsetter is the number 2, Breaking the Rules. Had all kinds of problems last time out in the Fort Lauderdale. Still got third, beating 2 links. And now stretch out in distance. I think he's going to like that. Gets Velasquez aboard. A lot of good signs there at 10-1.
Yeah, I really do like Colonel Liam, but I do agree. This is a massive step up. I think the race, and I can't believe I'm saying this, the race I'm looking to for him is the Saratoga Derby, where he finished 4th by 3/4. None of those horses are in this spot. And I was a little, I wanted to ask you, I didn't get a chance to listen to Blinkers Off, like I said, but one of the things that maybe or maybe I'm just wrong. No domestic spending, no Gaffoe, no word. That's a play on words. No word. The top 3 finishers don't show up here. And I was a little surprised to see that. This is the first time I could remember in a long time. And again, maybe you can remember another instance. We don't have one Chad Brown in a turf race. I can't remember the last time. I literally can't remember that. Now, granted, I'm only like 13 years old, but nonetheless, I can't remember the last time I saw that. I think domestic spending is a Chad Brown, right?
Yep.
What is the situation there? Because I looked at that Saratoga Derby, and I'll make the case that Saratoga Derby might have a better field than this. What were your thoughts with no Chad Browns or none of those top 3 showing up?
Yeah, I mean, that was what was really surprising, right? I mean, here we are in a turf race, and you've got 3 Todd Pletchers and no Chad Browns. It's bizarro world, and that's kind of why, I hated taking a California horse, shipping to the east to run on the turf. I really hated that, but at the same time, I think you're right. And I kind of said it at the top, and then you just kind of said it again. There's no world beaters in here. Like, where is the Chad Brown? It's like, well, hell, these West Coast horses can't beat this horse, or these Pletchers can't beat this horse. There isn't one. They're all good, not great horses. Like, every one of them you could say that about, right? So yeah, I don't know. I was shocked to see no Chads. This is we'll probably never see it again. So yeah, one comment real quick, if I could transition. No one likes Maker to repeat. I think he's going to hit the board here at a big price, but I don't think Aquaphobia or Cross Border are capable of actually winning. But at the same time, they're right there. They're hard knockers. They've been in these kind of spots before with success. So Colonel Liam, you kind of like him a little bit. Out of the 3 Pletchers, what is the one you like the best?
So I don't remember the trainers off the top of my head, but I'm going to look. So I marked Colonel Liam down. I have Largent not. I don't like Social Paranoia and the mere fact that he's a really, really talented horse. Loves Gulfstream. Obviously, that's something to include. I do not like the post position whatsoever. I talked about this a lot. The benefit now for him will be the fact that because they're starting at like the top of the stretch, he will have a lot of room to navigate. I don't know. I looked at the poker 2 starts back. I don't know how good that was. I think this is going to be really challenging for him. I think he kind of wants to go a little bit shorter. If you look at his last 2 races, they have the asterisk, which is about 7.5 furlongs. I find that incredible. It's about 7.5. It's not 7.5. It's about. The other one, the Belmont race with the poker grade 3, he won. His race is going longer. I don't know if he's just good enough. I mean, he won back at Kentucky Downs in 2019, going a little bit longer, but he was 1-2, so he really should have won. And then he ran a race at Gulfstream, 4 starts back in May, and he wasn't great. He lost to Halliday and Aquaphobia. I think both of those horses are better. Halliday, another Todd Pletcher. That's one who I don't like. I did like Largent, though, but I do agree. I think this is a step up also. I think he did beat Doswell, who I think is on the card. I don't remember the race, but Doswell, who I think a lot of us in our guides had Doswell as a top choice. I know I did. I forgot the race. It's here tomorrow somewhere. I just forgot the race. But I really do like Colonel Liam. I don't think the distance will be an issue. And again, I looked at the race. I hate to do this. I looked at the race where he finished 4th as an indication of how talented he could be. Because I'll ask you this real quick. Say he wins the Saratoga Derby and wins the race last time out. I guess that's the Tropical Derby or something like that down at Gulfstream. Tell me he's not the favorite in this spot if he's 1 length better in the Saratoga Derby.
No, there's no question. Yeah. There's no question about that. Yeah.
That's kind of where I went. In terms of the Todd Pletcher, that wasn't my top choice. I'm with you on another Twist of Fate, but I have a lot of West Coast bias. I hate horses that come to the East Coast. Yep. So if you want to go short with Colonel Liam or another Twist of Fate, I think you can get by. But the one horse that I wanted to mention was North Dakota. At 10-1, getting Jose Ortiz and Shug McGahee. This race has a little bit more speed or front runners than I anticipated. I don't necessarily know if it's going to heat up, but that's the horse that I thought had a price. He went 1.5 miles at Keeneland in the Sycamore. It was 24-1 and finished 4th by 2 1/4. So he can get the distance. He's never run at this distance, but it's shorter than that race. And then he just ran in the Red Smith at 1 mile and 3/8. That's longer than this distance. This is 1 mile and 3/16. And he won at almost 8.5, 9-1. And he actually flipped the tables on Red Knight and won in that spot. I just think that's a long shot price. I don't know if you need him to win. I don't know if he's a win candidate, but keep an eye on that one.
No, I agree. I definitely agree with North Dakota. I think both Shug horses, I talked about breaking the rules as well, kind of the top of the show. Both Shug horses at 10-1. I love them. I love both of them. Everybody wants to talk about Storm the Court because Mike Somich got on Magic Mike yesterday and said he likes Storm the Court in this spot. Listen, here's the deal. Yeah, Storm the Court could get the lead. So what? That's where I'm at. Because another Twist of Fate is going to be right up there with him. So who is more likely to hang around? Storm the Court or another Twist of Fate? For me, it's another Twist of Fate. So like Mike and I kind of got on like the same angle, but we got different horses out of it. I just don't see a world where this Storm the Court thing makes sense. If you're gonna play Storm the Court, you kind of have to like another Twist of Fate, and he hates another Twist of Fate. So I just don't get logically what he's seeing there. But hey, maybe on Saturday he'll look like a genius. But I have no interest in Storm the Court.
Do you remember what November 1st, 2019 was off the top of your head?
Unfortunately, I do. That was when the last time Storm the Court won a race. I was standing at the rail when he did it, I probably saw triple by then because that was the last race of the day, Friday at the Breeders' Cup. It was a pretty fun day. Let's put it that way. We had a lot of fun at Santa Anita that day. So yeah, that was the last time that horse won a race.
So you have good memory. We've tested that theory out. You know what also was in 2019? I was 23. I was about 23 for a few months now. 22 for a few months. Yeah. 2019 was an interesting time. There was no COVID. But you know what? At that time, Storm the Court was actually good in 2019. You know what he wasn't in 2020? He wasn't good. Look, I'm not going against Mike. I'm going against anyone who likes to Storm the Court. If you want to bet on a horse who hasn't won since 2019 and he's going to beat me, go for it. His best race was against Smooth Like Straight at Santa Anita. We just kind of talked about horses coming from Santa Anita or the West Coast or Del Mar or Los Al, whatever. They're not better than the East Coast horses. The only time I'll consider them is if they're Baffert on the Derby Trail. On the turf, no thank you. Sprinting, no thank you. So yeah, I guess to sum it up, if you want to bet on a horse that won his last race as a 2-year-old in 2019 on the turf, which was the opposite surface of what he won, go for it. If you want to be logical, don't go for it. I don't know how else to really break it down. I think at 12-1, I could make a case for Next Shares over Storm the Court. At least Next Shares was decent against another Twist of Fate. So sure, you can say speed, but the great thing about horse racing, the object is to win the race. It's not to get the lead. It's not to win halfway through or 3/4 through. It's when you get to the finish line, did you win? Storm the Court hasn't done that. So that's an issue for me. And you didn't mention any of those things, but you did remember the date. So A+ for your memory. Let's get to the feature. The Pegasus World Cup Invitational grade stakes, grade 1 for 1 mile and 1/8 going 9 furlongs. On the dirt, real quick, this is a really, really, really quick run-up. So if you're interested in, I'll start with 9 through 12. Last Judgment, the 9, the 10, Code of Honor, the 11, Mr. Freeze, the 12, Math Wizard. I'm not saying they're going to win. Just keep that in mind because it's really, really, really quick in terms of the run-up. We have the first 8 here so you guys can see, or the first 7, as you can see. We'll scroll through the end. Where did you go? I kind of saw this as a 1-horse race, to be honest. Did you see it the same way, or are you throwing some prices out there?
Nope, I'm with you. I think it's a 1-horse race. I just think Knicks Go is going to get out to the lead. I don't think he's going to have a very much pressure. I think he's going to run slower fractions that he did in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile when he still held on to win. I think you look at Knicks Go's 3 races with Brad Cox, and it's like they're so much better than anything else in the field. I came into the race wanting to go against Knicks Go. I did not really want to pick him. But at the end of the day, if you're going to tell me that Knicks Go is going to be 2-3 lengths ahead all by himself, running, 23.5, 47.5 fractions, I don't think they're going to catch him. The stretch out to 1 mile and 1/8 didn't really bother me. The reason being the 2 races before the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile were at 1 mile and 1/16. He certainly didn't look to be stopping in either one of those. I just think he's the best horse, period. The only case I could make against him is the distance. And I just felt like, well, with a little bit easier lead and a little bit slower fractions, probably shouldn't be a problem. And then you look at his breeding and you don't think 1 mile and 1/8 is a problem either. So yeah, 1-horse race. I think he takes some gate to wire. I did try to consider a Sleepy Eyes Todd, a Tax, Code of Honor, but I just don't think so.
So Code of Honor is interesting. He always seems like he's there, but just doesn't seem to get the job done, which is a little concerning because I really do like the horse. I'll be honest. I think he's a what we would say a hard knocker. He always is competitive, always you always making a big run, but just doesn't seem to get the job done. Outside of the Whitney, he's been really, really good. And the Whitney with Improbable and By My Standards, those are just literally the elite group of older horses. And he's probably at the very bottom tier of that. Would you agree? Like the bottom tier of the elite,
Yep.
or really, really good, or like the best of like the tier B. So he's like kind of in that mix. To be honest, we don't see Improbable. There's no By My Standards. There's no Tom's d'Etat. So you don't see that type of elite group. You know what the greatest thing about Knicks Go or K-Knicks Go or whatever his name is, doesn't really matter. This horse, and I just had to look this up now, in 2019, this horse was 0-for-8. And some of those races were against allowance optional claimers, or allowance races. Now, granted, some of them were good, but like the Matt Winn, he finished 5th. The Super Derby at Louisiana Downs, he finished 4th. The Commonwealth, his final race in 2019 at Churchill Downs, the Commonwealth Turf. It was a turf race. He finished 10th. This is one of the better success stories in a long, long time for a horse to be kind of where he was to where he is now, and the morning line favorite in one of the richest races in this country, I think is incredible. And I don't see his run stopping. To your point, can you look at the distance and make a case? Potentially, but he didn't really have an issue going a mile. He actually extended his lead. A mile and a 16th, he actually extended his lead. A mile and a 16th at Oaklawn extended his lead. Now, granted, he might have been extending because those horses weren't all that great, but nonetheless, I don't think that's an issue. If we look at like another horse like Jesus's Team, I mean, he won the Claiming Crown Jewel. He didn't do it all that well. I mean, he barely won. And then he lost to Canix Go by a good amount before that. Tax, if you want to look at the Harlan Holiday, I don't know what was in that race. And before that, the Oaklawn Handicap. Now, his best case would be second start off the layoff. I think that would be the case he would make. But I agree, it's kind of Canix Go or Knicks Go or New York Knicks Go or RJ Barrett Go, whoever it is. Nonetheless, I think it is a one-horse race. The guide had some interesting picks there. Not everyone went with Canix Go, so make sure you take a look at that. And that's a good segue here. Where I don't think we don't need to talk about anything else. So, quick promo here.
Can I hold on real quick? I want to poke a hole in this thought because I'm seeing this thought a lot. Okay, Jesus's Team. So he's 3 for 13 lifetime, right? Here are his 3 wins: a $32,000 maiden claimer at Gulfstream, a $25,000 claimer at Gulfstream, and then he won a starter stakes at Gulfstream last time out, the Claiming Crown, basically a stakes restricted for claiming horses. So the only races he's won were against claimers. If you want to play this horse underneath, cool. If you're picking this horse to win, you better be getting 30-1 on Saturday, or it's a horrible bet. That's how I'll end on Jesus's Team.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you don't know what the Claiming Crown Jewel is, well, just kind of take a look at the name. I don't know exactly the details, but it's for horses that were claimed, and then they're thrown into a series. And on December 5th, it was the Claiming Crown Series. So all those horses, I guess they were claimed at one point or another. I think that's
they ran for a claiming tag.
Right. Right. Ran for a claiming tag. So you know what that means? I'm going to be a little facetious here. That's like saying let's run races for like the mid-tier horses. That's what we're doing, but we're going to make it a championship series. That this isn't the Breeders' Cup where you have the best of the best. It's like the best of the claiming horses. So that it's not. Don't look at it and say it's a regular race. And you could see, depending on what PPs you're looking at, I'm here looking at Equibase. There's an R with a box, which means restricted. So you can't just come out of a stakes race and come in. If you'd only been running against stakes races, you're not eligible for the Claiming Crown. You have to have run for a claiming tag at some point. Maybe it's within a year, 6 months. I don't know the necessary details, but that's what it's for. So that's a really fair point. I'll push back and say I'll take 20-1, maybe not 30-1, but you need a price. 8-1 morning line. No, thank you. When Tough Luck Bob, this is from Mike Myers. When Tough Luck Bob does this with a horse, we're ready to bury him 10 feet under Arrowgate. When will we start questioning Brad Cox?
Michael, did you not watch Blinkers Off last night? That's all I'll say.
Yeah, at least for me, I'll say I haven't watched yet. But
hold on, can I just show everybody the headline that I made for when we were talking about the Pegasus?
Oh, sure.
Can I do that?
Yeah, you can do whatever you
still
want.
Have the banner saved.
Oh.
Is the Cox juice loose? That was the headline for the Pegasus. So I think we're doing our job trying to call out trainers that might be a little bit, cheating. So there you go. Okay.
Yeah. No, and that's fair. It's interesting to note, is the Cox juice loose? We are trying to be careful, but again, that's a horse racing term. That's not anything inappropriate. All seriousness, though, that was we were covering yesterday at Gulfstream. Today we're at Oaklawn. Real quick, you can always go to racingdude.com. I have an article every day, Thursday through Sunday. Today there's actually the free Gulfstream pick 4, and I wanted to do that for everyone watching. Not only are you getting Oaklawn pick 4 for free, you're going to get Gulfstream pick 4 for free as well. But enough about me. Take a look at this guide that Aaron really put together. Granted, my ridiculous consensus picks are in there, along with everyone else's. But look at this, the whole article. You can get in-depth analysis. This is what the cover looks like. I think you guys can see that. I'm kind of scrolling here. It's small. You might have to zoom in. And that's just kind of the intro page. It is completely worth the purchase. You will know exactly what K-Nix goes eating for breakfast. Aaron has it all broken down for you. I honestly would say if I wasn't a part of this group, it would be the first thing that I do either tonight or tomorrow morning. So definitely take a look at that. I will have my product out as well, covering Oaklawn, Gulfstream, and Santa Anita as well. I hope I did a good job with the promotion. I'm really trying to build this guide up for us.
You're doing fantastic. Are you kidding me? Doing fantastic. Yeah. I could have done it better myself.
No, it's great. Again, it's 14 pages. There's a breakdown on every race, multiple tickets, multiple consensus picks. Everything you could want is there. So take a look at that. It's on the homepage at racingdudes.com. But without further ado, there were some people that wanted some football yesterday. And we're going to do that real quick. I'm not going to hold Aaron to 3 words or less because, at the end of the day, we're humans. We're not supposed to be speaking in 3 words or less. I just wanted to kind of do that as a little bit of a talking point to kind of get us through. So now that we're here, Friday afternoon, this is brought to you here. These are current odds to the moment. Bucks, Packers. What's your final thought at this moment as we lead up to the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. I just kind of feel like they've been the best team over there in that division all year long. They've just kind of quietly beat everybody's ass. I know, Tampa gave them a tough time in the regular season, but I think the factors are different here. Cold weather game, I think that favors the Packers as well. I love the Tom Brady story, but I think the Packers are going to get the job done here.
I agree. I'm a little bit worried about the hook, that 0.5. That is something to note. I've always, the big numbers in football are 3, 4, and 7. So 2.5, 3.5, 6.5. Those are the big numbers when you're looking at spreads. So if you were all in on the Packers, there's one thing that I would do, 2 things I would do, which I'm all in on the Packers. I would take it at 2.5 and put a pretty sizable bet, and then a smaller bet at 6.5 and say that they're going to win by a touchdown. Because I'm with you. Whatever your budget is, I'm not going to sit here and say you should bet this much or you shouldn't. But that's what I like to do. When I like a team this much, I'll take it a little bit lower and make a much more sizable wager, and not be willing to get hurt by that field goal. Because it could be a game. It could be one of those situations where there's a game-winning field goal, and I wouldn't be surprised because how good these teams are. But I also think they're much better than the Bucks. Also, so then I make a smaller wager at 6.5, and I'll get really good odds in doing that. I might get plus like 170, 180, and I would have to take like minus 130 instead of the minus 110 or 115. But I'm with you. I'm all on the Packers. Brady has played in the snow before. One thing to know, Antonio Brown is questionable with a knee injury. The Packers are fully healthy in terms of their weapons. This is the game I wanted to get to. So we're all on the Packers to sum up. Are you going to root for the Bills like me? Are you going to take Patrick Mahomes boy because you live down the street from probably the biggest Mahomes fan, Jared? I was really hoping he was going to come on. I don't know what he's doing. He might have his kids, his boys. If he does, I hope he's enjoying. But I know that he will watch this at some point and have a smile on his face when we talk about the wig-wearing Patrick Mahomes. Which way are you rooting for? Which way do you think this is going to go?
I'm rooting for the Bills, yes. But to be fair, I think the Chiefs will win. Look, I think the Chiefs are just a really interesting team this year. I don't think they're playing like they're capable. I think they're better than what they've been playing. But I just think they're better than the Bills. I wish the Bills were a little more impressive in their last couple of games. They've just kind of, the Ravens, they did win by double digits, but there was a lot of things that happened in that game, like the pick six that made it a little worse than what it was. That was a really close, matchup. And the same with the Colts, a really close game. They could have lost that game with the Colts. So anyway, I do think the Chiefs are going to win. I kind of think they'll cover the 3 as well. I kind of thought for the last few weeks we're heading towards this Kansas City Green Bay Super Bowl, which would be a phenomenal game. And maybe that's where the Chiefs are going to get beat. I don't think it's going to be Sunday. I think the Chiefs get it done.
Yeah, I agree. I was rooting for the Ravens against the Buffalo Bills because I'm a Raven fan, and I was screaming and yelling just because of the pick six. Again, like you said, it was 10-3. If he completes the pass, it's a touchdown. We're at a tie game, and we're looking at a different situation. Or even if it's incomplete, you kick the field goal and a 10-6, you're in a manageable game. I might be rooting harder for the Bills in this game than I did in the Ravens when they were playing. I would pay a substantial amount of money to see Josh Allen go to Kansas City and win for 2 reasons. One, because I've said this before, every time Lamar didn't play well, I had to hear about it from Jared, and I heard it from you, but it was more so as like he's just got to develop and get better. And you are a Mark Andrews fan who went to Oklahoma, so you're rooting for the Ravens. They played the Chiefs earlier in the year. You were rooting for the Ravens, and you are a true Oklahoma guy, so you're rooting for everyone Oklahoma, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, all that good stuff. I had to hear about it every single week. And more so that's because his fantasy team was probably no good and he traded for Lamar. But nonetheless, if the Bills win, Jared, if you're listening, you might want to block me because it's going to get real, real bad. The Chiefs don't have to win by many, but they have to win. I will be rooting for the Bills, more so for bias, but in all seriousness, the Bills have to be able to run the ball more than 20 yards, 30 yards. I mean, they couldn't run it against Baltimore. I don't know if they're going to be able to run it here. I don't know what the yardage for Josh Allen passing yards. It might be like 310. I saw 309.5, something like that. I would consider the over for the mere fact that they can't run. And if they're going to be losing by 10 in the fourth quarter, they'll have to keep throwing it and trying to push the pace. So in all seriousness, I will also take the Chiefs. I do think I'm rooting for the Bills. I will take the Chiefs spread. If Mahomes plays, obviously, if he doesn't play, they will lose. But that's kind of where I'm at. Any final thoughts on the Pegasus, today's Oaklawn card opening day, any football, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I'll just give a final thought real quick. Guys, this is a hell of a weekend. We've got Oaklawn today, and there's no better track this time of year than Oaklawn Park. You got 3 great days of Oaklawn. You've got the best betting card of the year so far at Gulfstream on Saturday. It's going to be so much fun. Don't get caught up in the negativity of they shouldn't be running the Pegasus and this isn't that good of a race. What do you care? It's 2 great betting races. It's a big event in January. Have fun and just enjoy it. And then you've got 2 great football games on Sunday. Listen, if you're someone out there and you love to bet and you love to play the ponies and watch football, it doesn't get any better. So just enjoy this weekend. It's one of the best of the year.
Yeah, I think you really echoed all the sentiments I was going to say. Real quick before we sign off, we will be doing a live stream tomorrow for the Pegasus. That won't be the Rocket Hour. It'll be more so of all of us, whoever Aaron and Jared decide to invite. We will be, I hope I'm invited. We'll be doing that. I am. That's good to know. On air, I was there was public pressure.
Right.
So if I wasn't invited, I am now. I'm kind of forced on. In all seriousness, no. So if you didn't want to hear any more of me, unfortunately, you will be. So no, in all seriousness, there'll be a great crew on. I'm sure they'll have some guests, things like that. But like Aaron kind of said, and I'll reiterate, it's a great weekend, opening weekend at Oaklawn. You have the Pegasus, arguably their best day of the whole meet, the championship meet, especially before you get into those Triple Crown prep races and things like that, the build up to that. And then you have football on Sunday with another great day as well. So this is one of the better weekends in sports. But that will do it from us. This was one of the – well, thank you, Dennis. You're not the only one to mention that. So in all seriousness, everyone stay safe, stay healthy. We will see you tomorrow. I don't exactly know what time we're going to be starting. I'm assuming a few hours before the Pegasus. We'll kind of maybe get to the late pick 4. It'll be all on social media, so check that out. And again, go to racingdudes.com. Take a look at my article, my product. Take a look at Aaron's guide that he masterfully put together, all on the homepage, all right there. You can't miss it. So without further ado, stay tuned. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe, and let's try to make some money here before we get to, and arguably, we would say one of the better weekends of the year. So everyone, take care.